is a wonderful, amazing city. I've had such a good time here in the one day that I've been here, and I'm leaving already tomorrow. Yeah, well, I was just gonna say that. Next time I come back, would you guys like if I brought the rest of my band? I think we should do that then. So, thank you guys for coming to my clinic tonight. This is something that I love doing, especially in cities that Periphery normally doesn't play. I brought a bunch of guitars here, but one of them's only mine. So this one right here is my guitar, and the rest of them belong to the wonderful store, Hiend Guitar upstairs. Who here knows that store? I just want to thank them for having me, because without them and without PRS, I would not be here. So can we give one more round of applause for Hiend Guitars and PRS? Can I ask a very random question? How many of you have actually seen Periphery play in a different country? All right, where'd you go? Australia, all right. Where'd you go?
Singapore.
Okay. All right, so we got some people around here. This is awesome. You know why? This means you get to hear some of this music for the first time, like play it for you, even though it's just one guitar doing it. But can I play a song for you guys? Is that okay? All right. Check. All right, so the guitar that I'm using right now is a PRS SE model with the low string tuned down all the way to G. How many people here play guitar? That is a lot of you guys. Fuck, that's like most of you guys. I kind of play guitar a little bit, but we came up with this tuning around Periphery 4. Who here knows Periphery 4? You guys know that record? So there's a song on it called Reptile. It's got a super low tuning. It's got a low G. It's very low. And the reason I came up with the tuning is because, first of all, you guys know a band called Mastodon? Yeah. So there's a Mastodon riff that goes like, I thought it was the heaviest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Sorry, I'm using a lot of bad language. That's just, that's the way I talk. But anyways, I thought it was the heaviest darn thing I've ever heard. And I was like, we should try and write a song with that. And I was messing around with the tuning, and I started writing the main riffs in the song Reptile. So I would love to play that song for you guys right now. Is that okay? Yeah? It's a long song, and I don't want you guys to fall asleep, so I'm only going to play half of it. The length of the song is like the length of the Simpsons episode or something, you know? Can we just watch The Simpsons instead? It's really a pleasure to play this stuff for you guys here. Do we enjoy that? Does it sound good out there? Yeah! Cool. I feel a little bit sloppy tonight with my guitar playing, because I'm so damn jet lagged. Like right now, it feels like it's early in the morning for me. We just finished a European tour. It was Periphery. You guys know the band Spirit Box, and Straight from the Path. We toured Europe for 2.5 weeks, and we finished the tour in Germany 5 days ago. And now I'm here, but my mind is still there. So there's something about my mind and my hands that feel very disconnected right now. So pardon me if I play a little bit sloppy tonight. But hey, you know, rock and roll is not supposed to be perfect. Yeah. And one of the great things about heavy metal is that sometimes when you play sloppy, it actually sounds better. And I'll give you an example. You guys ever hear bands that sound very, very computerized? Like you hear a heavy metal record and it sounds so tight to where it almost sounds fake. Like it doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound like a guitar. It sounds like you're editing a guitar track and it sounds like a machine. With Periphery, we try and find this balance. So if you go listen to the stems of that song, you'll hear some very kind of sloppy details, things that I think in a different band you would want to go in and edit, get a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter. But with us, we go for a little bit of a looser in our recordings. I'll give you an example of something. Here's my main tone. Check it out. It's very bright and wide open, and it's meant to sound big. There's no gate on that. There's no noise gate. But this is my secondary tone. If we're talking about getting tight, check this out. This is my favorite thing to play. Check it out. The noise gate, thank you. The noise gate cuts it almost immediately. Check it out, if I bend. The noise gate chokes the note. So it's not very musical, right? Like if you want to sit and jam, it's probably not the best guitar tone to have. But I'll tell you, when you're playing in a band, who here is in a band? Who here plays with other musicians? Okay. All right, so there's like a couple dozen of you. So you guys know that sometimes it's hard to have everybody sound equally clear, right? In Periphery, we have 3 guitar players. It's too many guitar players. I should just play bass. But maybe one day. So for us, the emphasis is always clarity. It's not all the time about ripping and roaring and sounding the very best on your own, because if you sound amazing, but the other 2 guitar players, thank you so much. Whoever invented the mic stand is a genius. Yeah. I feel like James Hetfield now. So yeah, in a band context, it's all about fitting in. We can't all be Dimebag Darrell. You know, one guitar in the band, you just sound as badass as you want, you sound as loud as you want. In Periphery, it's all about making things work together. So we put out a record 2 years ago called Periphery 5. And I was in a really bad like mental space because of the pandemic, COVID, and all that, and all the tours were canceled. We had all these plans to travel the world and play all these shows, and everything was canceled. And the band was in a difficult spot. And I was not feeling very creative around that time. And I don't know for any of you guys, how many of you guys are creatives, how many of you write your own music, but when you're having a struggle to write music, it's the most demoralizing thing ever. I start to question my own existence. Like, what the fuck am I even doing here on this planet? If I can't write music, I'm a professional musician and I can't write. So one of the ways that I found to get myself out of the rut was trying new things, right? Like if you guys are feeling sad, depressed, or something's not going great in your life, they always say to try new things. Exercise, wake up earlier. It's all really shitty things, you know what I mean? But there's also like, you know, go out and explore nature, watch movies that you wouldn't normally watch, listen to new music, try new things. And so I tried to do that with guitar, and I've been doing this for a long time. Is I'll throw my guitar in a completely different tuning, completely random tuning. And this is an open tuning that I started messing around with. There's this Japanese band called Toe. I don't know if you guys have ever heard Toe. They're from Japan, awesome band. But they had a song called 2 Moons, I think it was, but that's the main riff. And I was like, I should try and write a metal song, and it's very happy, because it's a beautiful tuning, right? It's a... And so it was almost a challenge to myself, like, can I try and write a pretty song? Sorry, write a metal song in this really pretty, wonderful tuning. So, anyways, we wrote the song Wax Wings together, and then I was free of my creative rut, because all it takes sometimes is that first idea to come out, so.
I love the way you incorporate open string in your riff and licks in PERIPHERY. Could you share us how do you write it? I mean, when you wrote, is it intended to incorporate open string in your riff, or you just found some notes in the riff that need to be played with open string? And secondly, what is your favorite M sim or cap sim in your FM9 that become your main tone in PERIPHERY, and how do you dial your tones?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, I use a lot of open strings, he's asking. I use a lot of open strings, whether you talk about a song like Scarlet or Wax Wings, I'm always using open strings. And for me, it's just a fun way to play guitar, because you can get away with playing more notes with less effort. You know, so you don't have to try as hard. So for instance, one reason I love using a lot of open strings is because it's a very easy way to get this kind of dissonance, which it can be kind of ugly sounding, right? If you guys know Meshuggah or Dillinger Escape Loop, you know, you can make it sound ugly if you want, right? That 2-note interval, it's not good sounding. But if you put it melodically, and it also just, open strings to me, it just makes too much sense to not do. If you're not fretting anything, you have more fingers to add voicings, you know? You're using less fingers to play just as many notes if you can get away with it. And for me, it's just a really fun way of making riffs sound energetic and full of life. You take a riff like Scarlet, it's very acrobatic, it's sliding up and down the fretboard, but you're able to do that because you have open strings constantly ringing between the notes that you're fretting. So, yeah, and for dialing in tone, it's very simple. It's like I was explaining earlier. So we use Fractal X effects. We use the 6160 amp model in the X effects. It's a take on 5150. For those of you people who know the reference. So we use the main amp there, and we have our series of EQs and compressors and noise gates and whatnot. But again, my tone here is a little different than when I play live. When I play live, there's less gain. So. This is my main tone now. There's a lot of gain. I turn the gain down. I make everything a little bit more dry, just because I have two other guitar players to match. Because if everybody has a ton of gain, you're not going to hear anything. It just sounds like cymbals. You know, you just hear cymbals and you hear Spencer screaming at you, and nothing else. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
In most Periphery songs, I hear that the final section of almost every song is mostly like an ambient or kind of like a heavily orchestrated bit.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know who usually comes up with those sections, and there's also got to be a reason why we keep that kind of like contrast to the main song itself.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's typically a Misha thing. So Misha is a brilliant musician when it comes to writing these sort of like segues that go from song to song. Jake has done it sometimes, but it's mostly Misha who does the in-between interludes between songs. And one thing that we'll do is we'll record everything on the record. We'll write however many songs, 8, 9, 10 songs, we'll record them all, and then we'll put all the songs in one long file, and we'll all sit around as a band typically, and we'll listen. We'll say, well, what does song 1 need to connect it to song 2? And it could be any number of reasons. It could be that the energy needs to change. It could be, sometimes it's as simple as a key change. Like, if a song ends in A flat, you may not want to start the next song in A flat. You may want to break it up. You may want to throw some kind of different energy, some kind of different vibe in there to change things up. It could be any number of reasons, but it's a huge point of emphasis for us. I mean, going all the way to PERIPHERY 2, we never wanted it to have just like, here's song, and here's song 2, and here's song 3. It all has to connect in some way. Because my favorite prog bands growing up would do that, like the Dream Theaters and Opeth and like Devin Townsend. It would all connect seamlessly, even if it's not a concept record. Those are some of my favorite experiences to listen to music, you know? So that helps, yeah. Yeah. Can I take any other questions for you guys?
So, hello Mark, my name is Goji. I was just thinking about, since you, Periphery, have 3 guitarists with 3 distinct playing styles, how do you, as a guitar player, especially in Periphery, develop your own playing style, especially in songwriting? Especially when you have Misha with his signature style and Jake Bowen with his own signature style too. I was just wondering how you came up with your playing style, especially in Periphery, and maybe how to choose.
Yeah, thank you. I don't even think about it, to be honest. I don't even realize that I have my own style. Like, I don't. Like, when I hear people talk about it and analyze it, they say that Mark's style uses a lot of open strings, a lot of big chords, right? A lot of sliding around, like kind of acrobatic around the neck. It's not something I ever tried to do. And I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for you, but the thing is that, well, it's kind of an answer. I think the best answer is that I was just trying to have fun with the instrument. And about 20 or 22 years ago, I'm old, I was playing guitar and I was having a hard time. I was stuck. Everything I played sounded like, you guys know a band called At the Gates? And Soilwork and In Flames and all that stuff. I love those bands. But everything that I wrote sounded like those bands. And so I was like, how do I, and I wasn't having fun with the instrument, so I asked myself, how do I continue to enjoy guitar? Because this is not fun, right? If you're playing guitar just as a chore, or because you want to impress somebody, or if you want to make money, that's not fun. It's not fun. Guitar should always be as if you were playing basketball, or playing soccer, or whatever. It should be a recreation always. And so I asked myself, what are the things that feel good? What do I enjoy hearing? What do I enjoy playing? And there was something about, sliding up and down the fretboard, using open strings and throwing my guitar in crazy tunings that I loved. And I just never looked back from there. And then when people say that, oh, you have your own signature sound, I'm always like, really? I guess I do. But I never really thought too much about it, yeah. So yeah, I switched pickups a couple years ago. We had the Alpha Omega set, which if you guys have ever played my old PRS signature model, were very, very hot and very aggressive and super loud pickups, which are awesome. It was perfect for what we wanted to do at the time. The idea with the Scarlet Scourge was to dial things down a little bit. So it's a quieter pickup, but you can also compensate with your amp. You can turn the gain up on your amp, and what that allows you to do is, with the quieter pickups, you can get a lot more clarity out of bigger chords. I'm going to show you something in a second. So we just got done talking about my style, right? We were talking about big chords, open strings, sliding around. When I was playing live with Periphery on almost every tour that we were doing a couple years ago, just after COVID, I would randomly throw my guitar in a split coil position, right? Instead of using the bridge, which of all metal guitar players, we always use the bridge pickup, right? Some guitars don't even have neck pickups anymore. But something I was doing without even really realizing it, let's say there was a big gents part, whatever. Whatever, some big gent, right? So, and that's a bridge pickup. But if I switch it to the middle position, and I pull the coil split knob out, you get this really, it almost sounds like a bass. You can hear the attack of the string in a really aggressive way. Do you hear what I'm talking about? It's like this really raw, it's just angry, it's just pissed off. And if you have three guitars doing that, and they're playing tight, which I hope to God that we play tight sometimes in Periphery, when it all locks in, it is the most massive sounding thing ever. So we designed the Scarlet Scourge with that sort of effect in mind, that if you want it to behave like a normal bridge pickup, it can do that. It can sound really big and angry and just full. But if you want to throw things sort of middle, also like another goal. I'm out of tune. It happens. this really sort of beautiful mid-gain, clean sound that the Alpha and Omega did not have. So I hope that helps your answer. It's basically just to be as diverse sounding as you possibly can while still being able to achieve jet, the heavy sound. So I hope that helps. Can I take another question? Anybody?
Anyways, my question is, how has your approach to shaping your tone evolved over the years? Especially as periphery sound has developed, and how does your picking technique play a role in sculpting your tone during a performance? Like, every now and again, I can see that you really hammer the shit out of the strings, so I'm just wondering how that would affect your playing and tone. Thank you.
Yeah, I do pick very hard. I've always picked hard, and I don't know why. I think it's, again, back to what we were saying, it's just fun. Like, playing the guitar soft, that doesn't work for me, it's just hard. The problem is that sometimes you send your strings sharp. Okay? So I use thicker gauges. I use 11 to 54s, Ernie ball set, and I use string through bodies. So I don't use trems. I don't use any kind of like whammy bars, because the problem with trems, you guys know, you rest your hand on it and it goes sharp. So yeah, it's always a big part of sculpting a tone, the way I pick. And the way that it's changed over the years, I wouldn't say it's changed too much. Maybe in some of the ways that I just answered for you, like I've started to appreciate sort of mid-gain tones more. Like everything doesn't always need to be the heaviest thing ever. You can actually be very, very impactful when you dial down the gain, when you're not using as hot a pickup set, when your tone is more mid-gain, it's not full-on 211. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that helps, yeah.
As a PRS artist, you have many different types of PRS guitars, starting from your SE signature and to the most pricey one, the private stock. And then what I'm going to ask to you, what are the really difference between SE of your signature guitar and to the private stock one, other than the price range? Yeah, I mean, and then what was your decision to make a signature guitar when you have a deal with the PRS? What really makes you want to, okay, I want to make the SE series as my signature compared to, for example, regular PRS SE or any type of...
Well, thank you for your question. So I'll make it simple. PRS, in my opinion, makes the best guitars on the damn planet. I'm serious. I'm not saying that. It's true. It's very true. I'm not saying that because I play them for a living. I was obsessed with PRS when I was younger because I saw the body shape. I saw Opeth, they played PRS, Linkin Park, Incubus. Who else played PRS back in the day? Hoobastank. Fake No More? I'm like, I can't hear it. But yeah, like, the thing is, I would always go to the store in Los Angeles. I would go into Guitar Center Hollywood, and they would always have a PRS Dragon on the wall. And I was like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful guitar I've ever seen in my life. And then I looked at the price tag, and then I peed my pants. Because there was no way I would ever be able to afford a PRS Dragon. Actually, that's a great point. So, PRS was also in the movie Airheads. You guys remember Brendan Fraser in that movie? Yeah. He asked for a PRS Dragon. I was like, yeah, I like that guitar too. But the problem was that I could never afford any of the really nice PRS stuff when I was younger. Luckily, as I've gotten older, I can kind of, I can buy most of their lineup. Not all of it, because it's expensive, some of it. But if you take away price from the equation, I believe like the PRS private stock and the core models are some of the best guitars to exist on the planet. And when I joined PRS back in 2013, I became friends with Paul Reed Smith very quickly because we were at NAMM. You guys know the NAMM show in Anaheim? I met him at a hotel. We just had drinks in the lobby, and he knew Periphery because Periphery is from Washington, D.C., and that's very close to where PRS is located. And so he and I were having a drink, and Paul said, what happens if I build you a guitar? Would you be interested? What kind of question is that? You don't say no to Paul Reed Smith. And I said, yeah, sure. And he's like, I bet you I could build you anything. I bet you I could build you something better than anything that you have ever played before. And I was like, all right, I like this guy's enthusiasm, because if you guys have ever seen Paul's videos where he speaks, he talks so passionately about guitars, about the woods, the fret wire, like the material of the knobs, of the nut, of the tuner. He cares so much, almost too much. And we had some really good talks early on. He built a wonderful private stock, which we released as a limited run. I think there's only like maybe 50 or 60 of them still out there, not a lot of them. But shortly after those sold out, I wanted to do an SE model because I thought back to when I was younger, and this was the only guitar that I could have afforded when I was young, you know? When I was 20 or 19, I could not have afforded a $4,000 US guitar, you know, or a 5,000 euro guitar. For me, this was something that was like virtually, they're big fans, I guess. Or maybe they're making fun of me. Tesseract is better. But yeah, that was the whole idea, was just have a guitar that comes as close to the US model as possible, which I think it comes close. The difference is being obviously the quality of the wood, the price of the materials, and there's a playability difference, but we get as close as possible, and it's a super, super sick guitar. So, anyways. Animals as leaders is better! Why do you copy Meshuggah? That's right. Thank you, David. And if you guys didn't know, the SE models are made right here in Indonesia. In Surabaya, right? Yeah. So that's another cool thing. It's also a random fact that I just learned. I didn't know that. Anyways, I hope that answers your question. Yeah. I'll take another question. Yeah.
Having the 7 string, I'm exploring the string gauge. Yeah. So I changing my string a lot, but I didn't find any. I don't know what are the things that need to. We know that that's the right gauge for me. Yeah.
So when choosing string gauges, make sure that they don't go out of tune. That's the most important thing. If you tune low, you need thicker gauges. Sometimes a mistake of people using really thin gauges, light strings, but they want to tune super low. And it doesn't work like that. So if you tune low, like we do, I use at least a 10 to 52 set for the first 6 strings, and then I use a 64 on the 7th string. So pretty fat. And sometimes we go down low for a song called Ragnarok. This is a low F sharp. So sometimes I use a 66 in the studio or a 68. So hope that answers your question. Yeah.